Good morning. My name is Talon. My channel is Old Guy Stuff at Busy Corner Lane, and what we're going to do today is show you how I whip rope. And whipping rope was something I learned in Boy Scouts about 50 years ago, and it would be used for keeping the ends of your rope from fraying. It would also be used if I'm splicing rope together or making an eye splice or an end splice at the end of a piece of rope to keep that held into place and also to keep it from wanting to fray. Now, I've got paracord here, which is a material I like to use a lot, okay? And I have whipped the end of this. Okay, so I can bring it up here so we can see it a little bit better. I have whipped the end of this with some, just some wax thread. Now, people will say, well, why whip paracord when you can melt it? And they're absolutely right. I could take my lighter here and I can melt the end of it and then do this little thing, squeeze it down, all that. But what I find is, and I'm going to show this on some fake paracord stuff, that even if I do that, which I did on this, it can still come loose and you can still get fraying. So that's not exactly something I want to have happen. Okay, so I'm going to show how I'm going to whip the paracord by using some of this fake paracord and a piece of PVC pipe. Now, the way you do this, okay, oh, if you look, you can actually see that it pulled through here. So now I don't even have the white stuff here because it's on the other end. Oh well, this is scrap anyway. So here's what I do. You make a bite, you bend it over here so it is doubled up. And then it doesn't matter how this is setting, but what does matter is that you want to go over the shorter part. That's what matters on this. So if I had this flipped over this way, then I'm going to come towards me. And if I'm flipped over how I was originally, then I'm going to go away. Now on PVC pipe, this stuff wants to slip quite a bit, but if I was doing this on rope or even using this wax thread on some paracord, it doesn't actually slip. So it's going to slip some on here. It's going to be a little harder for my hand just because it's going to slip. But basically what happens is this. I've got it here and I wrap it. And then I get it over my starting part. And I'm just going to wrap. That's all I'm really going to do. And you don't have to do a whole lot. I'm going to do like maybe 5 wraps like this. And then when I come around the next time, I'm going to go through this loop. Now, I have found that it doesn't really matter if I go above and through it or below and through it. It doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to go below and through it. Then I'm going to take this short piece here and I'm going to pull it so that the loop gets smaller and smaller. And then this loop is going to hold it into place. Now, this is going to slip on the PVC pipe, but if I did this on rope or I'm using that wax string on the paracord, it's not really going to slip. Then I do this, and I will quite often just tie this off and say a square knot. Okay, so this would be like left over right, and then right over left. You can go right over left, left over right, but I'll tie it off in a square knot. I cut the ends, which I'm not going to do on this because I'm going to use this cord actually for the project. I'd cut the ends and then I would just kind of melt the ends here. And this will keep it from fraying, which is why on this particular paracord here, this did not fray. I did melt it, but I whipped it first and that keeps it from fraying. So now I'm just going to undo the work that I did here and show the whipping using the actual material I'm going to whip the material with. So for this project that I'm going to do, and for starting by whipping the ends, it doesn't really matter how much of the whipping cord I use, except I need to have enough that I can actually grip it with my hands to pull on it at the end so I can get it all nice and tight. So I'm just going to take about this much, about 8 inches. Leatherman micro in case anybody's interested in what I'm using for making the cut. Now fold this just like I did the other one. I've got it about like this. And I like to just kind of squeeze the ends together here. Now this won't slip like the cord on the PVC pipe because this material is wax. And I know the inside white part is actually right about here, so I'm going to make sure I end a little bit to the inside of that. And then I just wrap like this. And I'll do about 4 or 5 wraps. It's not a really set number, it's kind of a preference. And I'll go one more. The tighter you make it, the more difficult it is to pull this little working end right here. So you got to keep that in mind. If it's really hard to pull, well, you might need to just rewrap and do it loose. Or not as tight. I don't want to say loose, but you don't want to do it as tight. Okay. This is going to hold very, very well. I don't actually need to melt these ends, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to cut this part. I changed my mind. I'm going to. I'm not going to tie it because the wax part on this thread will hold it in place very, very well. Okay, so before I even cut this area, I'm just going to kind of melt that a little bit. And if you can see it like I see it, the wax thread is actually kind of shiny now. That's because of the wax being melted. Now I can go ahead and take this and cut. Usually I would use my knife blade, but I'm just going to use this. And that cut very well in there. And as you can see, I've got the white part. I get a little closer and maybe clear it up some. The white part is sitting right there. Now, I don't have to melt it. I'm going to. And I can still see the white up on the top, but now there's no way that the white on the inside is going to pull through and there's not going to be any fraying whatsoever. Okay, so I'm going to do that to the other end of the material I'm going to use, which is this end over here. And then do my project that I'm going to do with this particular cord. So that's all we're showing for today on this. The concept is called whipping. You can find this easily in the Boy Scout Merit Badge pamphlet, as a matter of fact, for pioneering. I think you might be able to find it in the one for camping also, but I'm pretty sure it's in my pioneering book because I still have my Merit Badge pamphlets from way back when. But it's a skill I learned in Boy Scouts about 50 years ago, and I still use it today. So if you ever have a problem with your cord wanting to fray after you cut it and you don't want that frayed look, and sometimes I do, but in this project I don't want the frayed look, whipping is a very, very good solution to that problem. Hey, my name is Talon. This is Old Guy Stuff on Busy Corner Lane. Have a safe, peaceful, happy, wonderful day, and goodbye.